Just wanted to do a quick 1 year update on the old Quincy. Hold on, fuck, I need a lens hood. There we go. Now we got a little better contrast ratio. Anyway, like I said, a couple people asked me to do a 1 year review on the Quincy QT 7.5. It has been awesome. Fucking non-stoppable. Had 3 dudes wailing on DAs all at the same time, and it freaking laughs at you. It is rated for 24 CFM at 90 PSI and 22.6 at 175. I got the one with the magnetic starter. Everybody says it's the way to go. I've had contacts wear out on my old Husky 60 gallon. They billed it as a 7.5, but it wasn't a 7.5. If I could find the damn motor, I'd show you. It's half the size of that WEG. It really is. Man, just the way to go. So anyway, this one came pre-installed. It's an option. You can get them without it. But it bumped the camera there, fatty. Pre-installed with the magnetic starter. Pretty much everything you see, with the exception of the electrical. I put just a disconnect. That's not a circuit breaker. That's only a 60 amp disconnect, so that I don't have to get into the breaker box over there to, disconnect it for service. Or if you're really safe, you can turn them both off and then double check with your flute and make sure you're not going to be doing something stupid. But anyway, other than that, first impressions, awesome. Ran's great. Is actually relatively quiet. But what I found is my old Husky had a cast iron pump on it, and it was relatively quiet. I've got a buddy that has a pump that is made out of aluminum, and just like the aluminum block in your LS, F-body or whatever, go fast car, they have a different ring to it than the iron blocks in the trucks and the fucking Escalades and shit. So that's, to me it helps quiet it down. 2, it's a fucking Quincy. They mean business. They've been designing and building air compressors for years. They know what they're doing. Let's see, what else? Only thing I did not get for an option that I couldn't afford for at the time, still can't afford now, but I really want, is an intercooler. They've got the fin pipe going from the first stage over to the second, but from the second stage, there it is, second stage coming down to the tank, there's just no cooling, man, and it is pumping some mega hot air into that tank. I haven't really had any issues with moisture or anything else. The tank does come with a ball valve, 1/2 inch ball valve to drain, which is sweet. Every time I fire up the compressor, the next day after the tank's cooled, everything's condensated, I come out and purge the bottom. I do not drain my tank every day. I think it's stupid. It's not gonna hurt you, but the whole point of me having an air compressor is I don't want one that leaks like a sieve and everything else. So I want to be able to come out here and have 150, 160 PSI at 80 gallons of capacity, just ready to go at a moment's notice. Fire up the old RTI air dryer. I got the Flexzilla hose with all high flow fittings, because that's how I roll. You can laugh at me all you want. I run high flow fittings. They're fucking awesome. They're badass, especially on big air suckers. Of course, paint guns, DAs, which don't really need them, but why not, man? You got the fucking dick of a big old Longhorn, might as well be able to swing it around every now and then. What else? Yeah, so anyway, got a 2-stage air dryer. I'll show you that in a minute. Show you a couple other little special modifications that I made myself. But overall impression, awesome, awesome, awesome. If I could change one thing, I would love to put some kind of an intercooler between the second stage of the pump and the tank. I think it would make a big difference. The only issue is my garage is only actually kind of on the small side for a 2-car garage. That would pump so much fucking heat in out here, and it's already Texas. It's triple digits a lot of the time, and yeah, so that would suck. And I don't want to vent it to the attic and heat the fucking attic up any more than it already is. So it's probably just going to stay the same way it is. Runs fine. I've ridden it hard and wet and hadn't had any issues. No overheating, no nothing. Check it with a thermometer, and man, she's been good to go. But hold on, and we'll get into a couple of the details, then that should be it. Alright, let's get into a couple of the special editions I made myself. Man, my biggest complaint with Quincy, and being the quality that they are and how badass they are on how they want you to service their equipment, they made this particular setup the biggest pain in the ass to change the oil in. It just had a flat plug, almost on a flat plane, sitting on the fucking, I don't know what you call that, pump, whatever, shelf. And man, there's just no way to not make a gigantic freaking mess. So I, made several layers of tape, made a huge tape funnel, got the oil drained, and then immediately piped in a 45 with the ball valve so I can put me a little schnoz on here, or even a long tube, and just run it down to the ground and into a tank. But I've heard a lot of companies say, oh yeah, we run break-in oil in our stuff. You need to change your oil after whatever, 100 hours. And, so many of those guys have proven bullshit. But these guys are not lying. They do come with break-in oil. This stuff was super thick, super nasty, super stinky, real dark green. And I think they tell you to change it after the first 100 hours. Well, I gotta tell you what, Jack, in this garage, it'll be several years before this thing sees 100 hours. So at the 12-month mark, I reckon probably had about 10 hours runtime on it. I drained it and ran it, drained it and ran it just to fucking run it. Try to get it good and hot, get the ring seated, cold cycle it a couple times, running her up again. Going from full empty on an 80-gallon tank to full, I believe, is just over 7 minutes of runtime, which for this is not bad. But anyway, so I added this for an easy oil change. When I changed it at 10 hours, it obviously didn't need it, but whatever. There's no excuse not to do it because it's nice and easy, it's simple. It's just something simple to do. I opted for an external disconnect switch. Actually turn that off before we make a bunch of noise. Just so I don't have to open up the circuit breaker panel behind me. Kind of a pain in the ass. So anyway, click that off. I know it's not going to come on and scare the shit out of the old lady or my dogs or whatever. Let's move on to something else. There's the nameplate for the beast. Is a 80-gallon tank. Of course, it runs on split phase, one phase, whatever you want to call it. That is a true I can't read, and it's late in the day. It is a true 7.8 horse motor. It says working pressure 175. It runs up to 175, 180, cycles off. It'll drain down to about 155, and it'll hold 155 till the end of the earth. Haven't had any issues with it, so man, I can leave this thing off for a week at a time. Come out here, not even have to think about turning the compressor on. Just open up the air line to the dryers, and you've got 80-gallon capacity at 150 psi. That's more than enough to do anything you need to do, without having to turn the air compressor on at 6 in the morning or whatever. So yeah, there's the data plate. You can kind of see what you got. It says amps 40. I checked it. FLA from my readings was about 36. I went ahead and wired it with 6 gauge. Yeah, it's got 6.2 wiring, and it is on a 50 amp breaker. Wires rated for 55. I figured 50 amp breaker. The magnetic starter, which I'll show you in a second, is rated for, well, I don't know what the fuck it's rated for, but it's rated for this machine. So this will trip first, and if that doesn't trip, that ain't gonna do shit, because that's just a disconnect. That is not a circuit breaker. So this will stay on and melt your wires. But it's a short run, man. It's like I said, it's 6.2 from here up the wall down into the breaker panel. I think it was like a 22-foot run. Not a big deal. But something else very happy that Quincy did was, like I said before, they added the little snoot with the 1/2-inch ball valve. I put the 45 and a little dingus pecker on there, just so it's not shooting a little, you know, stream of water all the way the fuck across shop. You know, you check it once a day. I doubt there's any. Yeah, fucking nothing. Just condensation. So anyway, only other major complaint. Where's the air gauge? How much pressure's in this son of a bitch? Well, on the models without the magnetic starter, you can see it just fine. It's down here. But really, in all honesty, as long as you've got, well, hell, you can even leave that on all the way up to here. But if you kill the ball valve here, shutting off the 2-stage dryer and the regulator. So typically what I do is I just kill the ball valve there, kills the whole system. You don't have any air leakage. That way you can come out here a week later without the air compressor being run. And you got 150 psi. You can air up your neighbor's stupid minivan tire, and off you go. But coupled all that with the 2-stage RTI E4000 Eliminator 2, it has got a mechanical dryer and then a decescent dryer. This system's set up for painting. It's designed to run one paint gun, one paint booth. More than enough for what we use around here at the shop. Just running a cheap old Husky crappy regulator. Put the RTI gauge on it just so it makes it look legit. So anyway, man, that's the 1-year review. No issues. Like I said, change the oil in this thing. Thick green nasty stuff. And the oil they give you, I ran the Quincy something or other. Holy shit, super hot. It's Texas. The shit's probably melting in the plastic quart container, whatever that is. And it is super thin and super clear. So you really can't see anything. Yeah, ain't shit. Used to, you could see a slight green tint when the oil level wasn't all the way to the top, but it sucks down to about 1/4 or 3/4 of the way down the glass when it's running. So I figured that ain't overfilled. That's good enough. But anyway, it's bone clear, so it's easy to miss if you overfill it. If it leaks out everything and you don't notice it halfway, you will run her dry. But man, mucho and presto. Mucho, what the fuck? Screw you, tripod. Yeah, mucho and presto. Mucho money. But man, you're getting what you pay for. It's all about having the true 7.5 horsepower that's rated for 24 CFM at 90. Check your other little 60-gallon 7.5 and see if it can produce 24 CFM at 90. Guaranteed it can't. It's all in the CFM. It's that part right there. It's that big monster pump and that gigantic 240 volt, 7.8 horsepower, kilowatt sucking fucking motor, man. She chugs and lugs. But anyway, that's the air setup for the shop. Just thought you guys might like to see that.